All right, so we're going to go over the menu of the cameras on the Sony Camera Control Unit in Studio 2. So I'm going to press the menu button on the top right of the controller, and that'll get me into my menu. And if you remember from the class, exposure and color are really the only two that you need to go into to make some adjustments. And I know this is part two of the training, but this is actually the first step you should be doing when you're controlling the cameras, because your presets will save any menu settings. And so it's important to do first, because if you preset a framing of your shot and then you go and change the exposure level, as soon as you hit that preset number, it's going to revert back to whatever exposure or color settings you had before. So come in and do this first, and then you can set your presets. So this is where the top button comes in handy on the camera control joystick. So I can press that, and I get into my modes. So I can go into exposure, I can toggle right, and I can change my different settings. So I want to be, most of the time you'll be in full auto if you do a reset of the controller. You'll come in, you'll see full auto. That's going to add a lot of gain. You don't know what it's doing with shutter speed and all that stuff. So you want to make sure that you're in manual mode. It's pretty simple. You have gain, shutter speed, and iris. So gain, you want it to be 0. There's absolutely no reason to be adding gain to your shot. You're in a studio. You have control of a lot of lighting. And then you have the ability to open up your iris. So gain should always be 0 decibels. Your shutter speed should be 1/60. You're shooting in 30 frames a second. So rule of thumb is to have your shutter speed number be double the amount of your frame rate. So we're at 160, and we can go higher if if you are filming something like dancing or music and you want a little bit more of like a staccato kind of look where it's there's a little bit more detail and not motion blur. You can go up on this, but it's going to darken your shot. So I would stay at 60. That's actually the lowest you can go. So you cannot get a motion blur or like a dream look or anything like that. I can't go down to 10 or 4. But I would just say stay at 60. And then iris, I can come in here and iris up or down. So right now I'm pretty zoomed in, so I can get to 2.6, but you should be able to get to, on a wide shot, around, I believe, like 1.7, 1.8. All right. And I would have your iris open more as much as possible. And that means that your lighting can be a little bit darker in the studio, so it's not blinding your subjects. If you're around a 3 to 4, then you're probably going to have to light a little bit more in the studio, and it just gets really, really bright in there. So I would stay in the 2 to 3 range. Okay, so that's exposure. I can hit menu once to get back. I can toggle down the color, hit the top button of the joystick, and now I have different settings. I have outdoor, one push, manual, auto, and indoor. So the best settings to use are auto, outdoor, or one push. And I know outdoor seems weird, but our lights in Studio 2 are daylight, so they do come in at about 5500 Kelvin, which is similar to kind of like a cloudy day. And so this outdoor setting actually does work, where the indoor setting won't. So outdoor works. Check that your color gain and hue are set to 0. And then auto, also perfectly fine. And then you have one push. So this is where we can put a white card. You can zoom in on a white card and actually hit the one push button, one push auto white balance button on the controller to then white balance to a card. I would only do this if I was seeing maybe a difference between camera 1, 2, and 3, and that way you know that you're white balancing camera 1, 2, and 3 to the exact same white card. But typically auto or outdoor work perfectly fine. So I'm going to hit menu again, and that's really all you need to go into. If you ever need to go maybe get a black and white picture, you can come into picture and make black and white, turn black and white on, but I think that would be the only thing that you would do in here. Everything else, we ask that you don't mess with any of the settings.